Yeah, welcome to the studio once again, Sanitarian Tijani Egene Eneojo.
Thank you so much, Ms. Olamide. I must appreciate your efforts and for having interest in environmental health practice. This is the best way to go. You and your colleague are doing a very wonderful work, and I pray and I'll continue to pray for more strength in order to enlighten the public on the need to keep the environment safe as possible as it is.
Thank you very much for always coming. In fact, and especially for your enlightenment. The most interesting part is how well you tend to express these things, especially to the benefit of the common man, that even if you're not that educated, you still get to understand what the conversation is about. Thank you. We must commend you for that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. So because we're talking about climate change today, and most especially the impacts on public health, can you please give us an understanding, as usual, in the best of the layman's understanding, what climate change is all about?
Generally, climate change is becoming a threat to our environment and society at large. It is not only limited to Nigeria, it's limited as in it's a global issue. And that is why you see every year they gathered somewhere in Paris, in US, in Egypt, in Dubai to discuss about the effects and impact of climate change on our environment. So when you talk of this climate change, it's a gradual increase in the temperature and the weather conditions of the environment. And when the weather is increased, it comes with a lot of benefits. This might not be positive benefits.
Yes.
Because there's what we call positive benefit and negative benefit. But
Sure.
as referred to the climate change, it comes with a lot of negative benefit. And that is why you see that everything we do these days get increased. Before you know, you get tired, you're stressed, you get dehydrated, you need water, you need help, you need air. And the air we are breathing in is no longer more conducive as it used to be due to the actions of the climate change. The increase in the weather, the dust it raised, the environment you find yourself, the improper disposal of waste, the activities of man that form a lot of this impact on the human health and the general public collectively. So that's why we are here to enlighten the public on what to do, how to live a long life, how to live a healthy environment, how to live a mitigated climate change or free environment from high temperatures and thereabouts.
You know, because you mentioned that the harsh weather and then you begin to take a lot of water. Yesterday especially, I was wondering why I was feeling so dehydrated. Like I kept drinking water and I was still feeling very dehydrated. And I was like, are you sure I'm still very, very healthy? Are you sure everything is still okay with me? Or there's another thing that is making me drink so much water? Because I think it was in like space of 5 minutes I was feeling so dehydrated. And I was asking myself, are you sure you're okay? Are you sure you don't have to do this checkup, do that checkup? But now, let's talk about how the environment actually impacts our overall health.
Now, you know, environment generally, it's what you give the environment is what the environment will give to you in return. So if you live a healthy environment, you see how you'll be healthy. You don't even need to go to hospital for anything, though it is important to go for regular checkup. But when you are living a healthy environment, everything is okay. The water is safe, the environment is clean, you have a safe waste disposal facilities, you have a shade or you plant a tree around you that give you oxygen, which in exchange take carbon dioxide from you. When you live this healthy environment, you naturally see how you will be flexing, even without money or with little resources. You see that the environment you live will impact on you. The environment you live, your association, how you live your life will impact positively on your health. So when you give the environment a dirty stuff to keep for you, then the environment will return, give it back to you. It might be as a result of decay of such substances. Then you will be inhaling odor. It might be as a result of keeping a sharp object within the environment. Then that object can give you cuts, which might lead to tetanus, toxoids, and other diseases that may arise as a result of cuts.
True.
So when you live a healthy environment, you clean your environment regularly. Sanitation is what we are all talking about. There was a program I went recently and was like, looking at the environment, the terrain, I developed a song immediately. If you want to live a healthy environment, sanitation is the key. If you want to live a long life, sanitation is the key. If you want your children to do better in the school, sanitation is the key. Wow. You understand? So when you go into sanitation, there are a lot of aspects of things that we need to do within our environment to make sure that our environment is safe. Your action is what gives us the impact we are facing today.
Yes. So
climate change and effect on the environment has a long impact on our health, on our environment, on our social, economic, and thereabouts. So for us to live a healthy environment, we must take cognizance into what we call sanitation. Cleanliness is next to godliness.
Absolutely.
So when you live a clean environment, it will in turn come back to you. Is it about the food? Are you covering your food? When there's a breeze that blow around here now, it pack dust and remnants on the space and then bring it back to you. Somebody can just be walking and then have a throat scratch and then it throw away on the ground. Breeze will pick it. Maybe you are the suspect within that period. The breeze will pick it and take it directly. You may inhale it directly and then have transfer of diseases within that period. You understand? And that leads to what we call airborne disease or airborne infection. So our actions on the environment will definitely come back to us if we do not mitigate it, if we do not reduce it, if we do not orientate ourselves and have the knowledge of what should be done in the environment. There is always a do and don't. Even in the relationship, there's a do and don't. So when you define your purpose, at the end of the day, you see that your action will not only speak about yourself, but it speaks about your environment, entire people within your vicinity. So living a healthy environment, let us take our sanitation very, very seriously. You must not leave everything to be done by the children. You can show them how to do it. And that is why it's important for us to even inculcate this teaching, this learning process into our curriculum in primary school so that people should start knowing what they should be doing at every point in time. Imagine where you are talking about sanitation. Yes. It also includes hygiene.
Of course.
So you wake up in the morning, you do not know that you need to brush your teeth. So all the accumulated germs, all the food you have consumed in the past are gathering within your vocal cavity. And as a result of that, when you speak, people know that, man, this one I've not brushed for a while. You understand? Those things in your mouth might not be giving you concern, but when they get into another person's, then it causes a problem to them.
Wow.
Get. So that is why there are viruses in the mouth that are not causing any problem to you, but when they go out of you to another person, that person may fall sick because you might be an asthmatic patient that this thing does not affect you, but when you get to another person, it gives them the problem. So sanitation is the key in all of what we are discussing to make sure that we live a clean environment. And when you live a clean environment, it will reduce the impact of climate change on our environment.
I like the fact that you said it to reduce the impact of climate change on our environment, because I think in 2022, World Health Day, there was a theme that stuck. The theme was our environment, our health. And I thought about it. So right now, while you were talking, it struck me again, because you were trying to establish a relationship between the climate change and our environment from what I could deduce that you talked about. But now let's look at some of the overlooked environmental processes that we tend to, some of the impacts of our hazardous lifestyle or some of the careless lifestyle that we tend to live that impacts our environment and then in turn impacts our health. What are those things?
Now, when you talk of the things, our action that can lead to devastating effects on our health,
exactly,
you think of the waste management. You know, when waste is gathered, there's what you call genders of party in sanitation. That is when a waste appears to be wholly or partially contributed to by two or more people in the community. Like when you are coming out of your house,
okay,
you have a waste that is not that you gathered, And then there is no way you can dispose this thing. As you are going to work in the morning, you pick it, and then inside your car, you fling it on the road.
Especially very early in the morning. When
Very early in the
seeing
morning.
You.
So you see people gathering those waste. When those people become so heaps, there will be decay. And as a result of decay substances, it comes back to you through odor. Microorganisms will grow there. Reptiles like snake, cockroaches, reptiles like snake, like scorpions will find their way into that place because they love a dirty environment. And then in return, those things come back to you. You see where a snake will be found in a soak-away pit, right?
Of course.
Because they are not taking care of the environment. So the snake can find their way from the waste management, from the gathering of waste. When it decay, it give room to all these things. Then talk of the flies infestation. Those things are actions that lead to what we call the devastative effect on the climate change. Then are you talking about our own activities? Like, okay, one man will have like 10 vehicles in the house. Every morning he warm all of them. And as a result of that it releases emission from the vehicle. You see everybody wants to own a car. And as a result of your actions, you are buying and burning fuel every day. You release some of these substances into the environment. And once that reacts to the environment, it still come back to you. And that is what gives effect rises to climate change. You talk of every household have generators. You have generator, your neighbor on his own, I on my own, your colleague on her own. Everybody on it. Then you see the reactions. All of them will be reacting together and everybody will be complaining. My eye is peppering me. Oh, I don't know what is happening. It's as a result of this accumulation of these smokes that is giving you this concern.
Of course.
Is it about the irritation of the body? In some cases, you see Okada, the popularly known motorcycle riders, you see them removing their exhaust and be running around up and down, making noise and then creating a lot of pollutants into the environment. Those people need to be orientated. Most especially during the campaign that just concluded. You can see that a lot of people remove their exhaust even in the vehicle. You see them releasing a lot of poisonous substances into the environment without them knowing the implication of their actions. So those people need to be orientated. They need to be talked to. Recently, our regulatory body, under the leadership of Dr. Baba Yakubu Mohammed,
yes,
in partnership with US, call an expert to come and carry out what we call carbon emission control on all our vehicular substances. All our vehicles on the road. You talk of the tipper, you talk of the truck that carry diesels and all those things. Their activities on daily basis release poisonous substances into our environment. And as a result of that, it brings them so that we can do a test run and see how we can come up with a solution on how to mitigate the rate of carbon emission into our environment. And he has trained a lot of us, a lot of sanitarians all over the country to have the new vast knowledge on ways of reducing the level of emission into our environment. So if government partnership with him and you see that this worked out, then you see the reason why people who have 2 or 3 vehicles do not need them.
Absolutely.
You understand? So when you are to pay for a test on each of your vehicle, and you see that this one I've not even used it for 1-2 years, what is it waiting for? You look for a way of what? Discarding it. The discarding may not be throw it away, but you sell it out. By so doing, you are helping to reduce the level of pollutants into the environment. So that is some of the things that we need to do as a layman to reduce the level of pollutants in our environment. Are you talking of the agricultural activities or the industrial activities or the construction activities that brings about pollutions in our environment? And all these things have effect. A farmer go to farm and cut all the trees within the farm, right?
Of course.
That is what we call deforestation. And as a result of that, you are not planting any new one. If you don't plant any one, Next year you cut another one. Next year, as year continue, you keep cutting trees without replacing them. How do you think that what we as humans are even releasing is going out? Do you wonder why, if like in this hall now, we have about 100 people here gathering for a meeting, and there's no AC, there's no fan. Do you know why there's heat if there is no access to other ventilation? Because all of us are releasing gas. We are releasing what we call carbon dioxide, and there is no tree around here to give us back the oxygen. So how do you think the environment will be? It will be unconducive for all of us. And as a result of our actions, you see that many people will get tired. The program that's supposed to be 4 hours, people start getting tired by 2 hours. And whatever you are telling them will not impact in their knowledge. You get? So
yes, of course.
When there's a population also contributed to the climate change, because we are releasing this carbon dioxide. Every day, even as we are talking, I'm releasing my own. You are releasing your own. Every human life is releasing its own.
Now, thank you for this eye-opener, because I'm beginning to think about some things. First of all, I remember that as far back as in 2015, I used to operate a business where we had some people come with tax levies and tell us to pay for carbon emission fee. I remember as at that time. So I'm beginning to wonder if that's still in place, and what happens to those funds if they truly use it to somehow mitigate some of these things, because every day we still come up with some of these health issues. In fact, you find vehicles sometimes on the road emitting excessive carbon on the road, probably in front of you. You have to always make sure that you go ahead of them, because you don't want to start inhaling it. Some persons even inhale it, they don't care, because they don't even understand how detrimental it is to the health. And then another thing I wanted to bring attention to is when you said we cut trees, we don't even plant them back. I know of the benefit of having flowers in each compound, because somehow they help you. As you're releasing something, they're giving you back what to take in. But most homes don't have that anymore. In fact, you can count places where there are flowers now, and you can count, most especially some of these estate developers and all of that. Trees are going down every day. Places where we used to have plants and all have been cleared. Homes have been built there, which means that gradually, we're taking away what is supposed to be our support system. So are there things that individuals can do, or are there things that you are also doing to ensure that we do not just take away all of these plantations that are of benefit to us, especially in times of education, because what you do not know is truly bigger than you?
Sure. Talking about the levy collected on climate change,
on gas emission.
On gas emission, yes, it is important that if you have generators, right? You have 3 generators, and you are paying for each of the emission that they released. You see the need why you don't even need 2. That you should have only 1 if it's sound enough. Because as you are paying tax on the remaining 2 that are not usable to you now, then you feel bad that I'm just paying or waste resources. You understand? So payment for emission is very, very important, because your action and inaction is contributing to other people's downfall. So people emitting, like if we are doing this vehicular testing, and you have, like I explained before, you have like 4 or 5 vehicles in your premises, and it's expected of you to pay for all of them. You see that there's no need of you keeping them. By reducing what you have that contribute to the environment negatively, then you are also helping to reduce the rate of carbon emission and climatic effect on all of us. So if people paid for those services, they will now understand why it is important not to have as many as they want, and then reduce the rate of what they have. Now, coming to the second question about what are we doing, or what an individual or a corporate body can do.
Yes, what individuals, corporate body, and what you're doing as well.
Now, as an individual, everybody, that is my advice to the general public now, is that everybody celebrate birthday. Everybody celebrates their lost one, or they mourn their lost one, right? At the end of the day, they gathered and pay a lot of decorators to provide cake, provide this, provide that. And once that thing ends, it ends there. So I want to advise that if you are celebrating your birthday, advise your supporters or those who are celebrating with you to plant a single tree in your honor.
Probably flowers.
Probably flower or a resourceful tree. We have different resourceful trees that can be planted in your honor. You get? So when those trees are planted, this is, in those days they used to do it, especially planting of coconut. When you give birth, they plant coconut. That coconut continue to grow. People begin to enjoy it. And then remember when they plant the coconut. You understand? So when an individual is celebrating, you advise your followers, your supporters, please help me to plant a tree. And once that tree is planted, the person will continue to water the plant until it gets to maturity. So once everybody plants a tree, you see that the rate of accumulation of this carbon dioxide will reduce, because trees take it as their own oxygen and release oxygen for us. And that is why you see when you come to a shade, you see that the place will be very cold. Do you know why? The trees gathering there are releasing oxygen for you. And that is why you can feel relaxed that place. And then before you know it, you can even doze off and sleep. Because there's cold, there's a release of carbon dioxide, there's a release of oxygen. Why the trees around there pick all the carbon dioxide within your premises, and then they take it as their own oxygen. So individual can plant a tree. If you are celebrating the anniversary of this program, you can plant a tree. If a president is celebrating his 1 year in office, he can lead by example by planting a tree. If the governors are doing so, they can lead by example. If a new appointment is given to you, you can lead by example. Plant a tree. When you are retiring from office, plant a tree. So when there's massive tree, it will help to reduce the rate of carbon dioxide in our environment, because the tree needs it, while they release oxygen for us, for our use.
I totally agree with you, especially telling us to plant a tree whenever we have especially important events in our lives, to lead by examples. I think I'm going to consider planting one too.
Please plant a tree.
All right, but are there specific environmental factors that have led to a rise in climatic conditions?
Yes, there are so many environmental factors that lead to increase in climatic conditions in our environment. And one of it is what we discussed before: power. That is the use of light, electricity, generators, and thereabout. Those actions pose dangers to our environment. So we can reduce it by replacing constant electricity in our country. So when there's electricity in the country, all the neighbors will not own their generator. And by so doing, it will reduce the rate of emission into the environment. We can also look at the rate of transportation system. How can it be of benefit to the public? The government can come with a plan of having a public transportation system, even on the road, in the rail, and on air. You understand? So when the rate of people using their personal vehicle or personal belonging reduce, it also reduces the rate of emission into the society. And there are other vehicles that are even not using fuel any longer. They are not using fossil fuel. Some are electrical car, as we see it overseas. Right? Somebody said his own car is using water, but it has not been common. So let's see how it goes. Those actions will help to reduce the rate of emission into our environment. Then the industrial settings, those that are into the productions of different kinds of things that give us concerns, can look at, okay, can we reuse what we are producing? Why end at first users? If you use a bottle, if you finish the bottled water, the can is for what? What do you use it for? Can you use the can for selling of oil? Can you use the can to keep some other things? You can put sugar inside the can and keep. When you want to make use of it, you fetch from there. So those things can be reusable. You see a tin milk. When you finish the content, the can remain what? Unused to you. You can remove it and be using it to sell something in the market. You can use it to do moi, or whatever you call it at home. I love that thing very well. Yeah. So those things are actions that we as an individual can do, and what the government can also do to help to ameliorate the rate of or impact of climate change in our environment. The gaseous release of gaseous substances from an industrial settings, petrochemical settings, the petroleum industries, and all those places need to be monitored and guided.
Absolutely.
So when you do all those things, I put them together, you see that the rate of which we release emission into the environment will reduce. And once it reduce, it also go a long way to reduce the impact of climate change on our system.
Absolutely. All right, let's quickly go on a break. I want to get opinions on the streets as Egene Agu brings it to us. Stay with us.
Climate change has become a global concern as it affects our health and our environment. Today on the streets of Abuja, we'll be sampling the opinions of the residents of FCT to know how this climate change has impacted their health. Thank you.
My name is Ken Etim. For me, climate change is a good thing. It brought Harmattan in, and people few people complain about it, that doesn't go down well with some people, while it goes down well with some other people too. It's a matter of choice and depends on individual. For me, I love climate change. It will tell you about the weather situation, and the meteorological department is the one that is handling this. They give us the figure, how to go about it, how to prepare for the Harmattan season. Thank God that the season is almost going off, and some people, and before then, like I said, some people like the change, because at times it will seem as if it's going to rain, and all of a sudden you just see everywhere being calm, to tell you that we all are experiencing the climate condition in the nation, and also beyond our country. In some other climes, they experience the same as we are experiencing. Climate change is a good thing to tell you about. It's not going to be all the time raining or Harmattan all the time, but let there be a little bit frenzy environment. You understand? So I think it's a good thing.
My name is Comrade Omole Timothy. It's no longer a news that change has come to stay in the world, and we are living with the climate change. And as we are today, even the weather itself has changed. So we are living with climate change already. Erosion has damaged a lot. It affected almost 28 states in the country. Of recent, I think in the last wet season, the rainy season, we were told that the water from the dam in Cameroon will be released, and releasing it means it's going to pass through Adamawa down to River Benue, even down to Bayelsa. It affected a lot. Flood affected people in Osun, it affected Ondo, it affected even part of FCT. So it really damages a lot, both human and properties, especially our farm in some areas where farming become major economic status.
Okay, my name is Thompson Ogosi. If you look around you, you will notice that the atmosphere is cloudy and has this dusty haze all around. It's not normal in February. Normally in Abuja, what we experience is this kind of atmosphere or weather is only found maybe sometime in November, then through December, then maybe January, but not in February. So all of this has to do with the change in the climate. And definitely, I've also experienced such because I've noticed some dryness on the skin. So it affects, the body too because of the harshness of the weather and all of that. All of that has to do with climate change.
My name is Comrade Jide Abdulaziz. The climate change is a universal thing. It has really affected everybody, including those of us in Nigeria. And it's a thing that we need to do more enlightenment because the other time, you see, one time when I saw one erosion, let me call it erosion, it cut across, in fact, it covered the whole of this federal secretariat, that so many people died in a place where when you are passing ordinarily, you don't even know that there's a river there. But when when maybe they open a dam somewhere because of a volume of water, and it really affected so many people. Talking about how do we tackle it, you see, we need to be involved. You see, I'm so worried in Nigeria, in some areas, when rain starts, you see people packing their waste bin and be dropping, in the drainage. That drainage, those there that they are dropping, where is it going to be? It's going to block other waterways. People need to package their waste and drop them in appropriate way, in appropriate places. Not that they just see rain coming, they dump their waste there. It's going to block other places and it's going to affect other people.
There is the issue of the climate change, and I want to believe that because of human activities over time, it has affected the weather. The emission of carbon monoxide, the emissions, from our factories, and all of human activities has really affected weather. And that is why, very early in the morning today, for instance, it was very cold and very hazy. So, and I've witnessed this, long time ago. So I find that, human activities, or, as you have rightly asked, there is pollution also. The improper disposal of waste, is affecting the weather adversely because, flooding will occur when, refuse are not disposed properly. You understand? And you find that even dust, you understand, when dust are not, if people sweep and they are not properly disposed, you understand now, it will also, affect, weather if the wind blows. You understand what I'm trying to say? So that's why we find that everywhere now is hazy, and that, you find it difficult to breathe, and then you find out that you have to be covering your nose at every point in time.
Very much, Eneojo, for that street reports. We really appreciate it. All right, before we went on the break, you were telling us about some of the environmental hazards that climate conditions actually pose to our health. So I started thinking, there are lots of misconceptions everywhere, even on the street. They said there's this belief that rainwater is the purest of water to drink. Now I'm talking about safety of the water that we consume, especially in some of the rural communities. People believe that rainwater is the purest of water to drink. In fact, when you're telling them otherwise, they'll be like, that's the purest water. So once it is raining, they quickly put their buckets to bail water for consumption. Some of them don't even go the extra mile of purifying. They believe it's the purest of water. And then some other persons also believe that water from the stream is also the best, is medicinal, is this, is that. But now let's look at the way we discharge some of the waste that we have, and even the water that we've used and all of that. Some people just pour water and then it streams along and goes join other water from one water into another water and then to another water. look at the trash and where we keep them. Most of the time, when people come collect trash from you, they go and dispose them somewhere else. Some of the places they dispose them are very close to water banks. In fact, water banks sometimes. And then rain falls, takes part of this trash, takes them straight to the stream. Now, where this trash even is now, whenever rain falls on it, it will still wash away some of the trash and takes them straight into some of our stream and all of that. Aside from dust, like you expressed, a river does not have a cover. The streams don't have covers to secure them. So if breeze is blowing, it blows into them. Nylons, trash, any kind of trash blows into them. How can communities ensure safe drinking water? And what is the perception? What is the truth around rainwater being the safest of water to drink, especially when we know that there are climatic changes every day?
Thank you so much. Talking from the environmental perspective, during the course of our study, they see water everywhere, but the safety and purity of water cannot be ascertained. Discuss. You can see that it's very elaborate.
Absolutely.
The action of man has led to a lot of things that are not conducive in our environment. When you talk of the water, a man burn a waste within his premises. Now the smoke, the emission from the waste goes straight to the atmosphere. Right? Those things will keep hanging. Just like in the kitchen, in those days in the village, we don't have all this self-contained. You can recall.
Yes.
No self-contained that kitchen, we have to use gas or this thing. Everything is firewood. And in the kitchen, you see that when you set firewood, you build a kitchen today, you start making use of the place. Before you know it, you see the settlement of dust, soot on the wall. And before you know it, it begins to chop, eat away the zinc. And as you see it, the zinc begins to eat up. Those things are just a practical example of what happened to the atmosphere. So when those dust are settling, eating the atmosphere to the stratosphere, to the lithosphere, to the heatosphere, the sun is now hitting directly on us because there is a direct access for the sun to hit on us. Now those things, when they hang on the atmosphere, they react with the water molecule. And especially the first rain of the year will not be safe. And first 2-3 rains will not be safe for human consumption. Because when those particles react with the water molecule, it comes back to us as acidic rain. And once you make use of that water, you either have one kind of disease or the other, because of the presence of these particles that have settled in the atmosphere. So when those things come down, they wash away the surface into the body of water. You have a heap of waste that have been there. When the rain falls, it washes it away into the canal. Individually, at home, when there's raining, you say, rain is falling, rain is falling. You go and gather all the waste and pour it on the rain. Tell me, where is the edge point of the waste you think you have disposed? There's a community down the drain that are benefiting from your actions. And when this rain wash away all this dirt, if the rate of the rain begin to drop, that the speed of the rain begin to drop, you see that the rate of flow of those waste will not be there. Therefore, it begins to settle gradually until it settles down. And those things, when they wash into the body of water, automatically it contaminates the water, making the water unwholesome for human consumption. Those things are contain chemicals and other things. Therefore, affect the aquatic life in the water, the biodiversity in the water. When it affects lives in water, it leads their total extinction. You cannot drink the water. The life in the water is in danger. The fish and other lives that are living in the water are in danger. And that is why there are fish we know before that are no longer in existence. And those things are as a result of our human activities. So water can be the purest, the rainwater can be the purest one, as we all believe. But the activities of man, human factors, have contributed to the rainwater not to be the most purest. So that's why they turn back to say that the spring water is the purest water. The water that comes from the rock.
But even this water that comes from the rock, we've always heard that spring water is the purest. You want to tell me that rocks don't have dirt as well? Breeze does not blow on the rocks, and then this water, as they're coming out, they're coming through the rocks now. It's not the kind of water that we find in some of these waterfalls and all of that.
Yeah. Those things, when you talk about the rock, it undergoes sedimentation.
On its own?
On its own. It's a natural process.
Okay.
It undergoes sedimentation. That is why when you see the rock dropping, you see it very clean and pure. Because there are no activities. You cannot go there and drop waste or anything. So coming back to the human activities.
Did you say there are no activities? People hike every day, so they may have still gone there, dropped things on some of these rocks before walking away.
Even though you drop, the water is not coming from the top of the rock. It's coming from inside.
Within. Yeah,
just like a man speaks what is full of.
Okay.
Just like you speak what you are full of.
Of course.
The mouth speak what the heart is full of. So the water is not coming from outside the body of the rock. So whatever actions you do cannot enter or go to the water.
Within the rock, okay.
Because water is coming from inside
the
rock. You can always say that, okay, maybe you can contaminate the surface. Because as water is coming, it must definitely channel to a canal.
That's my point.
So you can always have that done. But as long as you contaminating, no matter how spiritual you are, you cannot contaminate the water in the rock. Because those things have a natural process of sedimentation. And as it's coming, to undergo a lot of treatment on its own, naturally. Now, you see some of our own actions again. You have a filled up soakaway pit at home. As big man as you are, you have defecated and the soakaway is already filled up. Instead of you to call an expert to empty the tank, that is the soakaway pit, to empty it and dispose it where the government has given approval for disposal, you take it and take to the body of water. You take your own human shit. Is that not wickedness?
Absolutely.
You take the whole shit, take it to the body of water, say you are disposing it in the body of water. What of the life of people living down the drain? You do not consider them at all. So those actions make water to be what? Unwholesome for human consumption. So, are you not telling me that that is not an open defecation?
Of course. Let's also talk about some of the actions that we tend to portray when we're trying to get out some of this sewage. You know, sometimes when people are coming to empty some of these sewage tanks, they don't even care to inform. I feel like the environment should be aware.
Yes.
So that people would not be available at the time when that would go on, right? Because of the smell. Because I believe that if we even inhale some of those things, it would tend to give us some sort of health hazard, isn't it? But people tend to just do it regardless, and then you can inhale whatever rubbish. That is
very, very wrong. It is it's a very wrong action. That is why when we walk, as in go out for inspection and we see that action, we can seize your vehicle. The environmental health officers are so powerful, but they are not making use of the power they have. We have the power to arrest. We are environmental police. We have the power to arrest anybody that is messing up with the environment. We have the power to seize property that is causing harm to the environment, that is causing a kind of a handout for criminals. We have the power to seize. When your premises is overgrown, we have the power to allow you to clear it. And when you did not clear it, we use our money to clear it and seize the property. We can sell the property to regain the money we have spent.
Wow.
We have the power of enforcement, enforcing you to do the right thing. So we have a lot of power. Power of closure. We can close your premises not to operate a business. So those powers are not being used properly. And that is why you see that People are not even scared or afraid of environmental health officers again. Think back in those days when you hear of Wale Wale coming. People do not even fear police more than how they fear Wale Wale back then. Because your actions in the environment is a danger to other health within the environment. So we have all this power. Let us start making use of it.
It's beginning to look like, at this point, with the kind of response we're getting from the climate, it is now very important that there should be this check upon from door to door, house to house.
Yes.
Because as it is now, every day we're putting our climate to the test of what we don't care. We're putting it to that position of we can do whatever we want to do. Now let's look at some of the vulnerable populations. Children and the elderly. They are at more risk because children especially probably don't even know so much about some of these things. Then the elderly are probably too old to take care of themselves and do a few things. What can we do as a society?
What we can do as a society is, one, what we are doing here. We are educating the public on the dangers of climate change, our actions to the environment, right? Majority of what happened today is as a result of human activities, which we call anthropogenic activities in the environment. Our human activities is what pose this danger to us. It's just a few natural activities like volcanic eruption that can cause an increase in climate change, give rise to increase in the ocean. Now, the vulnerable people in the society suffered more. The children, the pregnancy, the mother, and the old ones, the elderly. Because they have low immune system as at that point in time. And any small thing can trigger other virus in their system to weak them down. So what we do is to educate people, enlighten the people. Even them, they have their own part to contribute. The mother, the elderly, when dispose your waste, knows how to dispose their waste properly. Or people, their children can also guide them on what to do. By so doing, their own action will also help to mitigate the impact of climate change on the health of the environment. So the children suffer the more. Like what we are expressing now. You go to bed in the night, you see that before you know it, your throat begins to dry. If you don't have water, you are on your own. No? That is why it's advisable that you keep water by your side and be drinking it. In fact, now it's even important for us to drink more water.
Sure.
Give water to the children. They may not have the voice to say, I need water. Right? But you, use your wisdom. Sometimes you see children crying unnecessarily. You don't know what is happening to them. True. Think of how when your throat is dry, what happened to you? You feel uncomfortable. That is what is doing them. They may not tell you, here, I need water, I need this. No, give them water. Always give them water. Even the elderly, advise them to drink as frequent as they can. Then dispose their waste. Go and defecate properly. Do not defecate in the open. So people need to be orientated, they need to be talked to. And that is why we are here educating the public, not only the vulnerable populations, but it affects them more.
Absolutely. You know, very recently I discovered that Lagos State government banned the use of plastics, disposable plastics for consumption of meals, even though they also looked at it from the angle of it can be cancerous, especially when it's microwaved and all of that. But aside that, most people just eat and dispose the containers. So that would be mitigated because they'll just eat, dump the containers everywhere. And I know that there was a culture that I was taught a very long time ago. My dad would always say, whenever you're passing by and you find, even if it's the tiniest of paper on the floor, pick it up and dispose it properly. But over time, I grew up and I got to some locations and it became too difficult to adhere to these things. Because maybe I'm just walking on the street and I'm seeing everywhere really messed up. How many am I going to really pick to dispose? So looking at these environment issues, not everybody goes out on. In fact, it's looking as if there's no longer, you know, in Lagos State, there's this strict Saturday, last Saturday of the month, environmental sanitation exercise that takes place there. Nobody goes out from morning till 10. once it's 10 a.m., movements can now start. So you're going to be doing your clean of environments. Even in their marketplaces, there are specified days that are meant for environmental, and nobody will sell a thing to you, even when you come in earlier, until after the environmental sanitation exercise. But we don't seem to have it in other states. People move freely everywhere they want to go to, at whatever time they want to go, leaving their environment unattended to. So what can we do? What can we advise the government to do to ensure that these strict rules are being adhered to, and we as individuals? Because I believe that if in a situation where I am careful of disposing paper on the floor, because I know that it's posing hazardous health risks to everybody, if I am able to take care of that, change begins with me, right? If I'm able to start that and the next person takes correction, I feel like the environment will be a better place to actually stay. So what can we begin to do as individuals, government? What can we advise them to do, especially when it comes to this compulsory environmental sanitation exercise? And what are you also doing to impose that?
Now, looking at what the Lagos state government is doing, they are sending a signal to other states, and I give it to them. They are doing very well in terms of sanitation, and that needs to be replicated in all over the country, all over the states of the country, including FCT. Now, one of the things, as they stop the use of plastics like the can, the pure water, and thereabout, they have to go to the production, right?
Yes.
The production, once they stop producing, then those things will not be in the environment. That is one of the things they need to do to control it. Otherwise, you keep on arresting people, arresting and keep on arresting. The production has to stop. Those into that process, they need to be educated on the best way to use, because those things are not decayed. A leather, pure water leather of 20 years is still existing because it cannot be decayed. And once they cannot be decayed, they keep on posing dangers to the environment. Now, coming to the sanitation aspect of it, Abuja, to be precise, is a political terrain. And many people, a lot of sanitarians have little or no much to do. Can you stop the president not to go to office? Or the ministers? Or other prominent member of the society? Even the councillor of a local government, you cannot stop him from going to office. So then, from them, they need to be orientated. And then they back up, the government need to back the sanitation aspect of our country. They need to give them more a power. They have the law already, but you cannot do it on your own. They need more hand to be able to control it. They need more sanitarian to be able to go out and then do the work. Imagine if you want to stop the sanitation exercise here. Buhari Area Council will block their terrain, Amak will block their terrain, Wawalada will block their terrain, Kuje and then Kwali will also block their terrain. Once they do that, it is not even enough for you to stop people from going. Those people should be at their various premises doing the sanitation. So once we can implement and enforce the issue of sanitation in FCT, you see that they copy it, because majority of people living in Abuja are not from Abuja.
Of course.
They come from different states. So they can take the message back to their state. And this is what I see. This is what should be done. So once enforcement come with strict penalty for any offenders, those days when we go out like that, we have a mobile court. The moment they see you, you are not even going anywhere. They arrest you, you go to mobile station and have yourself defend. Why are you out here at this point in time? From 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock, it's enough for you to clean your environment, tidy up yourself before you leave your home. There was a time I was traveling on the road, and I see that it was a sanitation day. I think it's in Edo State, back in 2009. So they have to stop everybody on the road to make sure that you participated. Even while you are standing on the road, everybody go into the within the premises and pick things. There's a dustbin. That is your own community service punishment for not being at your home on sanitation day. And then there should not be any compromise.
Absolutely.
That irrespective of who you are, this is sanitation day. Go back to your house and do your sanitation. Once the time passes, then you can go to anywhere you want to go and do your work. So people need to be orientated that, okay, once every Saturday, last Saturday of the year, of the month is set aside for sanitation exercise. We should make it a law in all the state and all the local government so that people can do a lot of sanitation within their premises. Once those things are there, then the government on their part should have a strategic location where people should drop their waste on daily basis or weekly basis or every 3 days, depending on the volume of waste they generated. When those things are done, it will help them to also dispose their waste properly through the use of government facilities. So a lot needs to be done. Education, health education, creating awareness and sensitization is only the key to all this. And then government has the policy to bring in for us to have a roadmap in what we should be doing. And then they should not forget that the environmental health officers are not enough. Recently, the government said they are going to stop the funding of all the councils, but they have recalled about 13 of those under health. So they have not yet called us back. So we are pleading, let them call us back, do the funding, we will do the work. Let there be enough sanitarians. It is said by the law that 1 sanitarian to 80 population. Now, look at the population and how many are we?
It's looking almost impossible. The same thing with doctors. This is looking almost impossible. Anyways, because our time is fast spent, on a final note, let's please give our viewers your final advice on how to maintain good public health. Now,
to my viewers, first of all, government has done their part by releasing a policy on national climate change policy in 2019 to 20 that will lead us till 2050. So those documents is very important by the government. Then on our part, individually and collectively, we have a role to play. If you have your waste, do not dispose it illegally. Do not channel your waste into the body of water because it also affects the aquatic life in the water and affects the community down the drain. Environmental health officers are always your friend. Meet them, liaise with them, discuss with them your problem. They will provide solution to you. When you see an environmental health officer, make him your friend. Then generally, we should not burn our fossil fuel, the kind of using our vehicle. We should try as much as possible to minimize the rate of vehicle we have in our premises by making use of public transportation. Then all those waste can be turned into waste to energy. And once that is done, like we have solar light now, it helps to reduce the rate of climatic conditions in our environment. Then from agricultural aspect, we can minimize the rate of cutting down of trees by, and as well, planting a tree to replace the one we have cut. So by so doing, it will help us to live a long life, because if you want to live a healthy environment, sanitation is the key.
All right. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it for your time today.
Thank you.
All right, viewers, that's all the cuttings on today's show. You already heard Sanitarian Egene Tijani Eneojo advising us to plant a tree. So please, on behalf of us in the studio and for this enlightenment, please plant a tree in your compound. Thank you very much. I am Olamide Al Hassan. Bye for now.